Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 24 of The Agent is In. It's a special episode from an art gallery in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today, we're going to talk to Miek Gieben, who has written CFEngine policy formatter in Go. And yeah.
Good. Thanks for having me.
You want to introduce yourself and tell us, how you came to start using CFEngine?
Yeah, fine. I'm in the Netherlands, working with Unix and stuff for 25 years. We moved as a family to the UK for a bit, lived in London for about 8 years, worked for Google, among other things. Moved back to the Netherlands a few years ago, just before COVID hit, actually. Worked from home during COVID mostly, and then wanted to be in an office again. So I applied at my local university to start a job there, and they accepted. And turned out they use CFEngine, which was a throwback because I had been using CFEngine version 2, I think, in the 2000s at a job that I worked. So I was back in using CFEngine, and that was one of the things. One of the things that I saw was that we hand format those files. And of course, I'm a Go user. I love the Golang language. So it's like, and Go comes with a formatter, if you don't know. So you go foomt your files and it just prints out how it should look, which is great because nobody can argue about it anymore. They now argue about color schemes and that kind of stuff. That was a joke at the time, at least. So it's like, I need one of those for CFEngine. So started looking, found a few things. There's one written in Emacs that I've found, which is like, I don't know how to even start using that. So I gave up on that. And I was like, how hard can it be? And I tried writing one.
Awesome. So I think I saw in the README that you pulled in some of the Lexer from core.
Yeah. That was a mistake, by the way, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's like, I know Yak and Lex, so let's just see what's being used in CFEngine in the source code. And there was a Lexer and Yak being used. So it's like, okay, I can do that and Go, so just start using it. The problem there is that the parser that you guys use throws away comments and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that was one of the things. If you have a formatter, you also need the comments. So that was sort of an issue, worked around it. Then came to the discovery that Yak is a top-down parser. So I had the whole thing working, and then I had some functions, and it misplaced the arguments, and I couldn't get that right. So I threw away the whole attempt in using the Lexer and Yak. So I think I had like 4 tries to actually make this work. So in the end, I used a recursive descent parser, which is top-down instead of bottom-up, but Yak does, which made the whole thing work. And there is this awesome package in Golang, which I think Greg or Nick actually, or you actually contributed to, called Chroma, which has an out-of-the-box parser or Lexer for CFEngine files. So took that, used my recursive descent package, and wrote the whole thing in pretty much a week. But that was the 4th try to actually do this. So there was like 4 weeks of full-time trying to actually get this thing to work. But in the end, it's pretty good. And I think it's 99% of the source files are actually parsed. Macros is still an issue, but it works pretty well.
So did you run that on your whole policy set? Like how big is the policy set that you are working with?
15K lines, I think. Which I believe it can be reduced, but we'll come to that. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty large, and it's mostly install package, the move file, restart daemon, that kind of stuff. But it's there's some complex stuff in there as well, and it's pretty old. I think it's more from the CFEngine 2 install into 3, so I think it's more than 25 years old, the whole thing.
Okay, interesting. What version of CFEngine are you guys running?
Well, exact version or just 3?
Well, yeah, I was just curious, like what minor version? Like 3.2, 3.18.
315, I think, from the top 15. Of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, let's see here. I don't know. Yeah, let's take a look at this. So let me share my screen. Yeah.
Here we are.
So can you see my screen now? Are we good?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, cool. Okay, so I was on the plane ride here. I was playing around with, what happened to this? Looks like my blocks moved around. Yes. On the plane right here, I was playing around with just prototyping a little. Is the text large enough? All right, cool.
Yeah.
I was playing around with just like writing a little bit of prototype policy to do copying files based off of manifest rather than just recursive dissension. So like have a map of the file structure with the stuff that you wanted to compare, and then the agent can look at that versus like just leaving it all up to the protocol and everything under the hood. So I wrote this on the plane on the way here, and I thought that it would be fun to run this through some CF format. So like when I look at this, I've got, you know, pretty typical, like we see in a lot of the standard library, like some comments before the opening brace after the bundle. And then I've got some variables, and all of this stuff is, you know, I'm using SpaceMax with CFEngine 3 mode. So, you know, most of this stuff, like I let it auto indent whatever it is. You know, I highlight something, tab, and then that's kind of what I get. Sometimes, you know, with stuff like this, where I've got some deeply nested functions, I'll maybe, you know, do a little bit of hand massaging to make it come out to look like something that's a little bit easier to read.
Yep.
But I'm sure that Miek's tool is going to have a different opinion about some of my choices.
That's not really a line length, but yeah.
So yeah, all right. So that's what I've got, and then I've got so I installed Golang. I'm inside of Termux right now. So I did package install Golang, and then I ran the go install CF format from the README, and now I'm gonna run CF format on this policy file that I've got here. So I'm gonna kill that. So if I run that, this is the CF formatted version. So we like add some new lines here, but like you kind of space stuff out, kind of munge my comments around a little bit, but it did like pretty much align variables over here. I don't know, you want to tell us about some of this, Miek?
Yeah, so it's such a freehand format that it's hard to make actual good choices here. Actually, all those new lines, I don't think it should have that many new lines, but if you go slightly down, you see the fat arrows being aligned. So that was one of the things that I really liked in our hand formatted files, that the fat arrows should be aligned right there. That function aligning, yeah, that's definitely something that could be done. I haven't seen functions that long in our stuff, but it could definitely be done and be split on multiple lines. One of the decisions I made is just like in Golang, there is no maximum width of a line, assuming terminals are like infinity enough, which is why you see that thing on a single line. There is lists. If you have long lists, there is an option to actually have those better indented than they have, like being each element being put under each other. instead of just aligning them on a single line. If a list is too long, it gets nicely put under the starting brace of, yeah, if you have a list like that.
Let's see here.
I think you need another comma.
You might need.
Which one? Ah! Oh, I hit caps lock.
Lost the handle.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so that's one pain point in the Chroma Lexer that it uses. Doesn't do line numbers and column numbers. So I need to add that in, because right now if it fails to parse, it basically is like, yeah, it failed to parse, and it doesn't give you any feedback on where it failed, which is super annoying.
What happened there?
Yeah, that's a really good feature. That's actually what happened to us with some JSON with the special characters in it. They would just said unknown object. It's like, well, where? Yeah,
which is kind of annoying, because I sort of assumed that would be like a core feature of a lecture, but apparently it's not in it. I mean, I had it there in the previous versions, which used the lecture in Java, but that's obviously not the ones that I'm now using.
Right.
Let's see here. I don't know if it didn't tangle out, but save it. Well, get out of there. Let's see. Tangled. Okay, so I've got a somewhat of a long list. And looks like my list wasn't long enough.
No, I think the default is 120 characters, which
120.
you did.
Yeah. I remember reading that from your README. Yeah, 120.
Yeah, and it didn't really
if I come through here and like double. There, how about that? That's pretty long. Tangled and run it. Let's see here. There we go.
Yep.
Nice. And I think I also saw in the README that like if I were to have a much shorter list, and then if I had like comments in here or something.
Yeah, that's another one. Oh my God, the comments and places where you can place the comments.
So yeah, I write stuff like this a fair amount, like not just in lists, but even in inside of functions, right? Like kind of weird stuff. But let's see here. Oh yeah, it breaks it. Cool.
Yeah, comments need to be on the end. So this is. Did it now place a comma after hi, or did you type that?
He typed that. He typed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got me worried. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's one option, because we have like long lists with two tuples basically, which extend like quite a bit on the page. And if you format those in the way this is done, it gets a bit mangled up. So I have like this comment that you can put above a list to say like, yeah, I can't remember from the top of my head. I have to read in the README. Like format this with each element on a new line. Yeah, I think it's no new line. Yeah, that I have to.
Like that?
I have to read my own README because I can't remember, but something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Let's see what it does.
But I haven't extended this to other lists.
So do you have other plans then for like what other things you want to add into it? And like.
So one of the things is that we are going to move to GitLab. And I'm basically eyeing to use this in our GitLab pipeline to just format the files and then potentially resubmit them to the repo with the format that we would like.
Yeah, I was curious about that. So you're thinking of like if I handcraft my policy artisanally and then I commit it to the repo, that what you'll come back around and like auto reformat it, or would you like
something
consider that a test failure?
Yeah, so test failures is harder to do because then you can't submit if your version lags behind like the official version. I've seen that with Go because they made some changes into the formatter, and then your local formatter formats according to the spec you think, and then you can't submit because there is a diff. So it's better to do this like automatically, and it would be even preferable for people to use this in their editor, just like you set up here. Like you save the file and it gets formatted, which is how I write Golang as well. I just type the characters and then format the file, and it's like, yeah, this is what I meant.
I'm a big fan of that strategy, especially using ed. The less characters I type, the better.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's one of my plans, and then it's also going to be actually being used in production at our place, which will surely throw up bugs and stuff that needs to be different.
Exciting.
Because that's one of the bigger changes. I mean, if you have Golang, it's a programming language which is maybe has more structure than the policy files, because it's a pretty free format. Like having comments inside lists. Of course, you can do this in Go as well, but it's yeah.
So I'm curious.
Don't use is the macros. That is pretty new. So if you have macros, it's probably unable to format that file.
Let's see here. I'm just curious. Like, oh, looks like it. Yeah, still works. No, can't stat standard lib because I'm not.
To include your Emacs Babel magic.
Yeah. Now let's see here. I think that was maybe the right option. So it's hashing a whole bunch of files on my phone, which is why this is taking a little bit longer to run than normal. Yeah, it works. It didn't break my policy. That's great. A+.
Cool. Yeah, it should, like, nothing in our set of files actually breaks this, except the standard files that came with CFEngine, which has macros and other stuff. But I'm right. Fairly certain, I mean, there is some hackery going on. It's not as clean as I would like, but I'm fairly certain it can do almost all CFEngine files out there in the wild.
That's cool. So what other, like, do you have other ideas of like other tooling that you'd like to see and integrate in to make life easier?
Yeah, so one of the things I'm thinking about is unit testing of policy files. And then not like installing CFEngine on a VM and then just running it, but actual unit tests of snippets of policy.
Right.
Which I have no clue yet how I'm going to pull that off, but it would be super nice to actually write a function or a bit of policy and then have input and expected output and just validate it.
You just need to find a mock operating system.
Let's see here. So I am pulling up our repository over here for master files. I don't know if you're aware of the testing stuff in the standard library.
No, that would be
yeah. Let me once I see. Here's the README. Here's update.cf. Where is the browse code?
Maybe just clone it.
Yeah, maybe I'll just clone it. What happened there? Gotta give that. Let's see here. Yeah, all right, so master files, lib, and then testing.cf. So there are a few bundles in here that can output TAP or JUnit compatible output for a policy. So if you run a policy and test for your conditions, then you can call the bundle and then it'll spit out TAP or JUnit so that it can be interpreted by whatever your test runner is. I think that one of these has like an example here inline in the header. Let me keep scrolling. I keep wanting to do a show and kind of cover some of this stuff, but it's kind of slipping off my mind. Did I miss something, Craig?
Yeah, I would be interesting. I mean, there was like the feedback loop that we have right now is pretty long. If you can just have a pipeline in GitLab or local testing, it would be so much quicker than just waiting, going to the machine, and then running CFEngine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Testing usage example. Yeah, so there's an example here, I guess, of using it. So here you go, right? You can use this testing OK bundle. If the reported class is defined, then you can output your OK message in TAP format, or choose the other bundle to do it in JUnit or write it out to files for your testing framework to kind of like scoop up, like slurp it up into Jenkins or something.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we could. So you were thinking of something along those lines then for like more unit testing at the policy level?
Yes, yeah. Except, can you see everything here? Like you put a file there, so that's a reported class. It should be, yeah. I think like most of the stuff is installing a package, restarting something, putting a file, restarting something. I mean, that's like 80% of our policy files currently, I think.
Right.
So just having that would be nice. And the obscure ones, if you say this can all be tested with this kind of stuff, then I'm definitely going to look into this.
Yeah. I've written some stuff with it. It's kind of fun. And our testing framework for testing like master files and core it doesn't actually use this testing library. It uses like some other big behemoth thing, which is kind of difficult to work with. But I have done some testing with this before, and it's kind of nice. It just provides a couple of these abstractions. I mean, you write everything in policy. So, you write your implementation in policy, and then you write the policy to inspect that the state is the way that it was supposed to be after your policy ran. And then you can just, run these bundles to emit the information in the formatted way so that you get those nicer reports output somewhere else. But anyway.
Okay, yeah. I'm definitely going to look into this.
Awesome.
Because that's like, yeah, we test by just having a spare machine or even the machine you're installing and just running CFEngine, which strikes me the wrong way because there are better ways of doing this in most languages.
Cool. Any other? Yeah, for sure. Any other tooling that you had in mind or wish list?
Yeah, probably metrics and canarying of changes. Like we canary changes now by like having a test class and then adding that class to the machine and then putting the stuff in the test and then running it. But it would be nice to have a higher level of abstraction where you could just say like, okay, these machines are test machines.
Yeah.
And they are canaried first, and if they go wrong, I stop the rollout of the rest of the policy. Because if it's my CFEngine tree, it gets like quickly rolled out. So I can destroy the entire fleet like in 15 minutes if I want.
Yeah, one of the strategies that I've typically seen used for that sort of thing is often referred to as like a policy channels. So like instead of having just one set of master files that you distribute to every host, then you end up with having more branches or whatever. You start serving N versions of policy, and then the individual hosts know which version of policy they're supposed to get from. So you can have a canary group who gets from this canary policy, and there's different strategies for like draining everybody into that group and at different rates, and looking for the feedback signal to like put the brakes on and stop growing that group size, or I don't know, there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do around that. And I think that I don't know if have you looked at any of the CFDS, the CFEngine build tooling yet?
No, if
Not
you say
yet?
I need it for canarying, I will, but we don't need that currently because we just write our policies, so there's no need to actually build stuff there.
So the CFEngine build tooling, like I think it can facilitate some of the canary stuff, because the whole thing with CFEngine build is to put your policy set together. So, take master files, take your custom policy, maybe take somebody else's custom policy, and then like put them together. And then when you start doing that on branches, it can make it, it's this easy way to like reproduce constructing the policy set, and then, having those end versions available so that you can have canary groups. I don't know.
Okay.
Might be interesting to check, like focus on just the maintenance of the policy set with build. That's kind of what it's trying to target. I mean, it targets a bunch of things, with like consuming and sharing, assets, modules, whatever, different promise types, all that other stuff. But even if it's just your own custom stuff and master files, it can really kind of help with that separation. And I know, sometimes it's a little bit daunting to do a policy framework upgrade when you've got, the master files policy framework, and then that's a huge diff of policy maybe you don't maintain. And, tooling to kind of automate stitching some of that together can kind of alleviate some of that burden. But
yeah, but to be fair, like just having a test class would work as well, and then just pull in from a different branch. One of the main issues that I'm thinking about is like, how can I tell that CFEngine is causing problems? I mean, if I destroy the machine, it's pretty easy to say like, okay, should not roll it out. But it's like how do you know your canary is basically dying?
Well, I guess I mean, to that end, like, what do you have for reporting? Like, how do you know that CFEngine is doing what it's supposed to do in your infrastructure? What type of reporting do you have to know that, like, yeah, those things are configured the way they are supposed to be? I mean, are you guys using like syslog or?
Yeah, this is mostly and going into like an elk-like stack. Email reports if things actually like CFEngine alerting is used, although I minimize that a bit. But that works.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased. I would I would definitely suggest enterprise. But
maybe we don't use that, but yeah. But that's that's another thing, because we don't use the enterprise edition. Previous metrics, or at least metrics from CFEngine. I would love that.
Yeah. Awesome. I feel like I kind of dominated the conversation again. Craig, is there anything that you wanted to say? I just let my mouth run the whole time.
I have happily enjoyed the entire conversation. I'm more than happy to listen to other people talk. Yeah, this is really cool. Yeah, I was thinking like for us, we exercise a lot of our policy through our continuous integration systems, and we have, we use like instances, cloud instances, VMs on like we actually have some hardware that we run VMs on. So yeah, like there's lots of possibilities for ways to kind of gate and like check things, but that's definitely one of the things that I miss in policy language, is the ability to like really pare things down and like unit test little bits and pieces. I was completely test infected when I wrote Java. I mean, that was like easy there. Yep. So but yeah, this is really cool. And yeah, it sounds like you got some good ideas, and like you're able to have some presence of mind to think about what you're doing, and that's really awesome for people, I think.
I super appreciate go ahead. Say what?
So one of the problems that like a tool like CFEngine has, like suppose we have canarying and all that kind of stuff, and a change goes out in Google, like the single best mitigation you had was rollback, which I mean, if you install a package, then the rollback should be deinstall the package.
Yeah.
But a CFEngine rollback is going back to previous policy, which doesn't say deinstall the package that you just installed. It's like a one-button rollback that fleet-wide just fix my CFEngine, that like go back to the version before I broke it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's hard. I mean, you can even do shell commands, so you can just wipe the system, which is impossible to recover from. But if it's installing a package, I mean, that should be something CFEngine knows it did.
Yeah.
And then going back, I mean, it should be able to make it undo the last change, which is...
Yeah. I think it would be really interesting. Recently, we went to FOSDEM, and I was walking around with a CFEngine t-shirt on, and some guy's like, "Hey, CFEngine. He's like running after me, and he grabbed me, and then he like sat me down for a demo of Nix OS, NIX OS. And I mean, with them, like they have that capability because they're saving the entire configuration, the explicit from the beginning configuration. So I think it would be really interesting to think about, like, how would you do that? Like, if you have a policy, then maybe there's like Nick was making a manifest of files. Like, what if you made a manifest of, these are the things that we found and that we did, and then now this is the manifest of things that we want. Oh, well, I need to remove the package. Like, that would be pretty cool. It would be a very different thing. I feel like CFEngine is very focused in philosophy to kind of moving forward gradually and getting things the way you want them. So then it's almost like in that philosophy, you would describe, again, now new with the new policy, like remove that. But it is kind of weird because, like, well, why am I removing it if it wasn't ever there in the first place? It's kind of a interesting knowledge exercise, and like, how do you structure that? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Nix has come up in discussions at our place as well. Except we just moved like from multi-year effort to Ubuntu, so you're not easily moved to something like Nix from. And yeah, it's also we give out like logins to people, so everybody is used to using an Ubuntu system.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a hard sell to do a multi-year change to just have rollbacks, but maybe you can fuss around with file systems like ZFS and that kind of stuff, and then snapshot.
Yeah, I think people do some snapshotting stuff. I know that we've got some policy that we run on our own infrastructure that does like does snapshot before it does updates, and then like it makes sure that it's got like a snapshot within the last 2 hours, and that it's done whatever updates within whatever other time period, and if it's not fresh, it makes a new snapshot, and once there is a snapshot, then it's okay to upgrade the system. So you can go back that way, but like it's kind of hard to make from inside policy to automate that other point. It's still kind of left as like if you hose the system, ultimately you got to page somebody, and then somebody's got to come along and do some poking to resurrect something.
Yeah, but this is hosting like all of your systems, which that's probably the thing you most likely don't want. But it's easy to do. I mean, you can do an RM and an RF in CFEngine, just push it out and it will run. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, anybody who's on the call, I mean, did you guys have any questions for me or anything that you wanted to say before we put episode 24 in the books?
Yeah, and we can stop the recording and talk about things that you don't want in the video too. That's kind of the idea, is unstructured time afterwards. So yeah.
So all right, everybody. Thanks for coming. I guess we were arguing about it, but I say that's a 2-year anniversary if it's episode 24. So
seems about
yay.
right.
All right, we'll catch you guys next month.